Brand new data from the White House Council of Economic Advisors shows the price of imported goods are not only going down since President Trump began his new tariffs, they're actually falling faster than the price of goods overall. Now, President Trump is doubling down, announcing new tariffs on over a dozen countries set to go into effect August 1st.
Retailers caught red-handed using Trump's tariffs as cover for price gouging. Polls show 52% of voters agree with President Trump that corporations should bear the burden of tariff-related costs. This an opinion piece from Fox News' Chad Wolf. In recent weeks, headlines have been filled with warnings from major retailers about impending price hikes due to tariffs reinstated by President Donald Trump. Big box stores like Walmart and Target have been quick to suggest that tariffs on imported goods, particularly from China, have left them with no choice but to raise prices for American families. Let's be clear, these decisions are more about raising profit margins and going against Trump's agenda to bring costs down for Americans than responding to any actual economic pressure. Tariffs are a strategic tool. The Trump administration has always been clear about that. Tariffs are designed to level the playing field, incentivize domestic production, counter predatory trade practices, especially from the Chinese Communist Party, and put Americans first. Tariffs protect long-term American interests, especially in vital industries like technology and manufacturing. Yet many corporations are using tariffs as a convenient scapegoat to raise prices across the board, even on products not impacted by a trade policy. A recent Federal Reserve report found that retailers have increased prices on non-tariffed items, falsely implying that across the board cost pressures are tariff-driven. This is not only wrong, it's exploitative. We all know how many of these large retailers are sitting on comfortable, even expanded profit margins because of the price hikes from COVID-19 that never came down. But it's not enough for them. They want to fleece the American consumer and blame it on President Trump's America First agenda. Former Walmart CEO Bill Simon acknowledged Walmart's capability to eat the cost of these tariffs rather than throwing the burden to the consumer. This quarter, they grew the gross profit margin in the U.S. business 25 basis points. All that product that has the tariffs on it, they reported last quarter, actually went down in price. That sort of gives them room, in my view, to manage any tariff impact that they would have, end quote. This is the article piece that is written on Fox News. You can find it by Chad Wolf. An excellent article written.
Yeah, this seems pretty freaking ridiculous. It just looks like another, like they were even saying it just looks like a COVID excuse. You know, everything went with COVID. Oh my gosh, the supply chain, blah, 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 yada, yada. This isn't here, this isn't there. Supply chain this, supply chain that, and they just up the prices every freaking time. And then stuff was getting smaller too. That was all neat. But we've seen it here, just even like locally. I've seen it a few places. There'll be restaurants like, due to the tariffs, the price of everything costs more. And you're like, so there's a tariff on lettuce now? There's a tariff on beans? I was like, I just wanted my bean burrito, man. You know, you're like looking for your food, but there'll be like little handwritten letters on a bunch of restaurants and mom and pop shops and stuff. And, you know, it's not just big ones. There's some small stuff, but most of the businesses around town will have prices are going up because of tariffs. And you're like, the tariffs haven't even been in effect yet, even when they were just barely talking about it. And it was like you started seeing the signs. So I think it's an excuse.
Well, and this goes back to my favorite two words that I use on this show all the time. Corporate responsibility. There is none. There's a lack of it.
Accountability.
And accountability, right? And what he says about COVID-19 is 100% true. They bumped up the prices during COVID-19. Didn't need to. They price gouged the American public in a time when everybody should have been stepping up to help the American public. Big business, big corporations.
They exploited everybody and being vulnerable.
Yeah, they exploited the American public. And so here we have it again. They're using the tariffs as a way for them to increase costs. And I've seen it even on online sales. You go to a website, the top part of it says, you know, due to Trump's tariffs, we're raising all of our costs, or there's an increased fee, or there's a percentage that's added on. Like they want the consumer to eat it. Well, here we show this report comes out that says that, number one, the cost on imported goods is less than the cost of goods overall. Like that price has decreased. We'll roll that video in a second. But on top of that, we already know that if these companies actually wanted to, they could move some of this production back into the United States and basically cover the cost of the tariffs that they would be paying overseas.
Developments is White House Council of Economic Advisors Chairman Steve Myron. Thanks for joining us, Steve. So it is kind of remarkable to look at all of the experts who say that these tariffs are going to raise the price of everything, and that's apparently not what's happening.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. So, in new work that our team has done, that'll be on the Council of Economic Advisors website today. What we did was we looked at, in every category in the inflation index, we looked at how much of it is coming from imports, both whether the good itself is an import, but also whether it, uses intermediate goods, that is parts in between the raw product and the finished product that come from abroad. And so we have a measure for each product in the index about how much of an import it is. And what we find is exactly what you said before, that imported goods are actually getting cheaper, while overall goods are getting more expensive. And since December, so before the president took office, because tariffs started coming in January, the first day of January, the first day of the president's term, he started with new tariffs. The price of overall goods has gone up by about 0.4% since December. The price of imported goods has gone down by 0.1%. So not only is there no evidence that the tariffs are leading to any economically significant inflation at all, but it seems, if anything, the opposite is happening.
Right, but they don't want to do that because it'll mess with the profits and stuff and the margins and some big executive, right? Big desk, little pencil time. Oh, look at me. I can't go without my pay. But I'll cut everything down, make everybody at the register take the hit and stuff for it.
Well, and don't forget that this last month, June, was the first time since I think it was 2005 that the American government had a budget surplus.
Whoa.
We made more money than we spent for the first time since 2005.
So in 2 decades.
In 2 decades, we finally were profitable again in the United States. Why? Trump's tariffs. Trump's tariffs pushed us over the edge and got us to a point where we were profitable. And not only a little bit profitable, but way profitable. I think it was $50 billion, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have that article pulled up, but I think it was $50 billion in the surplus in the United States.
But this kind of behavior seems to be pretty habitual if you really start looking at it with a lot of these big corporations and their nonsense. Because remember the whole thing when there's just like everything was getting stolen from every store? Every store, just stuff stolen. Oh, we have to do it. The insurances ain't covering it no more. You got to charge more for XYZ product because so much stuff was being stolen and so much loss at a place. Like, that's actually another example of just letting things get out of control and be dumb, or making an excuse to hike up the prices on everything too, I think. So I think it's just more the same old with a different title. There's a different caption, the old Reading Rainbow thing, it's just, yeah, the new title for the same crap.
They're always going to find a way to charge more. And I don't think that's right for the American public, and I don't think that's what small business would do. I mean, if our cities were primarily small independent businesses, and some cities in America still are, but if we saw more of that, I don't think you'd see those companies price gouging the American public like these big box retailers are. And it does not matter what the crisis is. None of these guys let any crisis go to waste.
No, they don't ever let it go to waste. It's ridiculous. I don't like it. They always put the thing. I mean, it was like Amazon during the COVID, right? What happened with Amazon? Dude, they made record profits and all this and that. And it was like, oh, the supply chains. But
well, it's also the fear mongering, right? Like, Amazon capitalized huge on the fact that the fear mongering that took place by the U.S. government to say, hey, COVID can't travel on Amazon packages. They only travel when you walk into the stores.
Right.
And so then what do you see? We have this huge economic chain that takes place because you have something like COVID. The big box stores aren't getting their money anymore. Everything's going to Amazon. They're all going to curbside delivery, whatever. They all have to innovate in a way. They all hike their prices up to stay alive. Many of them shut down. So now we have retail centers that have been vacant for a long time. There's tons of them all across Colorado.
I think most of the Walgreens and stuff are closed, like in town. I think most of the smaller downtown stuff's gone. A lot of the little mom and pop plaza stuff's gone. It's all dissipated, at least here. I mean, honestly, for where we're at, Colorado Springs is just everywhere else now. Colorado as a whole is just everywhere else now. It doesn't even stand alone no more.
Well, and then you have this leverage crisis, right? Because when you have leverage, you're in control. And so you have big box stores clearing out these retail spaces. So now the retail spaces are left empty. They're not being filled. Everybody's going into Amazon to make their purchases for their daily life. Now, Amazon has all the leverage. You've lost the profitable jobs from the Walgreens or whoever's shut down. So now you have less jobs in the local economy. But don't worry, Amazon will supply those jobs, but they'll do it at a much lower wage rate because they have the leverage and they can. And they don't treat their employees very well, as we've seen throughout the last 5-6 years, where the employees are unionizing and they're fighting back against Amazon and some of their practices with their employees. But some of these guys are forced to take that job because they have no other option. Well, who's in control? Amazon's in control because why? They have all the leverage.
Well, that's another thing too. I mean, we could talk about unions, and unions shouldn't be necessary if it was just good business practices happening, period, as a whole. But even here, remember, I don't got the exact numbers. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, oh, we need these Amazon buildings. They're going to get 8 or 10 years of tax exemption and free, and they're going to supply, it was like 1,200 jobs or 2,000 jobs. And I'm like, there's not 1,200 or 2,000 small businesses that could do with a tax break that just choked it through being shut down during COVID, everything being hard, everything getting expensive, supply chain this, supply chain that, all this other nonsense. There's not that many businesses local that could take that tax break and hire another person local and make it thrive. And then to top it all off, what does the Amazon do? Old Amazon, how many Bezos boys are there you see driving around all over? Everywhere. But what do they do with most of the stuff at the building? They start doing robots too. So they didn't even supply the amount of jobs they said they were going to. Then they got rid of the employees because the employees went to unionize and they started using machines for most of it. So it's just it's the same old stuff. Here's an excuse to make you pay more and the profits go higher. I honestly think everybody just needs to start turning minimalistic. It's less stress. It's easier to do. Get the absolute bare minimum. Screw it. No more excess. That's how I'm starting to get.
It goes back to the 4 famous words that came out of the Bush administration. Remember what those were? Too big to fail.
Yeah.
Right? Like, at the end of the day, the government should be like, no, too small to fail. We should be looking back at the small businesses going like, we need these businesses to maintain wealth in our communities across America. But instead they said, no, we got to bail out the large corporations. We don't really care about the small corporations.
True.
They did a little bit about that. They did a little bit to help out the small businesses when it came with payroll protection and when it came back to the, what was it called? The economic impact loans that they were giving through the U.S. Small Business Administration. So they did a little bit to help the small businesses, but at the same time, who was collecting majority of the payroll protection checks?
I'm a one-man operation. I didn't get any of those benefits or anything from nothing. There was nothing to even get anyways. There was no option for someone like me. But you look at it from my aspect with like just my vending business. It's small. It's not great. I can eat off of it, kind of thing. But it's sales tax, this tax, that fee, this fee, da-da-da. And they do like pre-subscribe it. Like, it's this amount. And I'm like, dude, my tax guy got brain surgery. I'm waiting for him to come out because he had a tumor. And then he does my stuff. I'm not using a different guy. Just wait, let him heal up. He'll get out here and help me out with this. And I'll be back on track. Just slow down. But they got all these, well, the projections, this and that, and you owe this. And you're like, dude, what? They do some crazy stuff if you're a small business, and they'll come after you really hard and choke you out real fast too.
Yeah, and it all boils back down to independent liberty, right? Like our own freedoms, our own personal freedoms. Everybody had an informed choice to make during COVID. The problem is the government didn't let anybody make that informed choice. And that informed choice was, here are the risks. Now you decide how you want to live your life, and that's how it should have been.
Well, you're always supposed to live risk versus reward of your own accord. That's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, and there was an informed level of consent. Everybody knew what the risks were. There wasn't a single person in the United States that didn't know what the risk of the COVID virus was potentially to their health. Whether or not you believe that it was or was not, it did not matter.
The best thing during that was that 99-cent premium fuel for like 3 weeks. I don't know if you remember, but I was like, oh, I'm going to fill up all my gas cans. I'm going to go fill up all my vehicles. Dude, you can get from here to another town in like 11, 15 minutes. You're like, ooh, Springs to Fountain, 11, 15 minutes. in town driving too. Now it's back to being like, 30, 40
Yeah.
minutes. It was crazy though, because like there was just nobody around, and you're like, okay.
It should have been everybody's choice. It should have been everybody's choice whether or not they wanted to take the risk, do the work. You had independent contractors that would have been more than happy to continue to operate their business. You had real estate agents that weren't even allowed to show homes, that weren't allowed to even sell houses or show properties. I mean, what they did to many of the small businesses and entrepreneurs across the country is absolutely criminal, and nobody's being held responsible. Nobody probably will be held responsible. But don't worry, the big corporations, the big box stores are too big to fail.
Yeah. Yeah. And airports and all the big corporations and big stuff gets the business, gets the help. But the messed up part and the reason for it too is that people don't get as well sometimes when you vote on corporate stuff. Like, what is it? Like 98% of all corporations are small mom and pop, like 3 or less employees, period. It's usually family operated. So when they do all that, tax the corporations more and stuff, and it's a small mom and pop, and they're like, I got to charge more now because it's costing me more on XYZ, some rule. And then it shuts down the small stuff, but the big stuff has no impact.
Yeah, we have a price problem overall. I mean, we have a price problem across the board, whether it be houses, et cetera. And we have a job market that's not keeping up with the living wage. And for the most part, many of the big corporations have the ability to solve some of those issues. The small businesses do not. Why? Because they're, like you said, being choked out by the larger guy. And so we have to look and go, like, when are you going to have a level of corporate responsibility to solve some of the nightmares and the problems that you created? I mean, look at the food industry, the food conglomerates. For years and years and years, they've gotten away with feeding the American public toxic items and toxic preservatives and toxic ingredients. And now, for the first time, we have RFK Jr. coming in and being like, no, you can no longer poison the American public. What have they done? Raised healthcare costs. They've raised the amount of disease that we have across the country. They've raised the ability for people to live a fully functional life.
They sold the American people the disease and then sold them a second time on the cure.
Yeah. And they did it for profit, right?
All of it.
All of it for profit.
For
did it
paper.
Because, number one, right, you look at it from a food perspective. Well, if we add this ingredient, the food lasts longer. So now we have less waste. We have less spoilage. We don't have to write off spoilage on our book as often. Well, if we put these ingredients in here, well, they're more addictive. The American public will buy more. All of it's for profit. And then don't worry, because most of them have a stake in the pharmaceutical industry. We'll just solve the problems that we create with new drugs.
Yeah. Constantly. Well, do you remember some of the other stuff that's like kind of a self-inflicted thing? What was it? Walmart's a good example. Remember they used to do that thing? Hey, we'll match the price plus 10% off at the counter for another place, any place. Didn't matter. Any place locally, like within like the county or whatever, the city. If they had to sell on some or the deal, they'd match it and do 10%. And it choked off every other business that would have deals and stuff like that. And then Walmart, right after it was done, and like they choked out like a lot of competition. I think that's what helped kill like part of the like Kmart's and stuff for a while there, because there was still Kmart's open then. But it choked it out, and then they just raised prices on stuff. They know what they're doing. And then honestly, we just consume and want to look neat instead of being neat, kind of thing. So it is partly self-inflicted as well.
Well, I mean, and look at the independent grocery stores, right? How many of them are left across the country? There's one in Colorado Springs that I know of. There might be more.
Think of one. Isn't there a little Asian market one somewhere like down Academy?
Well, there is. That's pretty large, and it's a specialty store. It's not really
and it does cost you a bit more to get that stuff too.
Yeah, most of it's imported. You have Bread and Butter, which is downtown. That is a little bit of a grocery store, small grocery store, independently owned, trying to solve the food desert down in the downtown area. But independent grocery stores don't exist, and a lot of it becomes because the price margin that you have on those goods is so little that you'd have to sell ridiculous amounts of product or increase your prices tenfold to be able to afford the rent. Why? Because the rent's gone up. And so you see a lot of these small independent grocery stores not able to exist. They disappear. And what are you left with? You're left with a couple options. You're left with Kroger, Safeway. You're left with the same
same old stuff with a different
grocery stores
with a different face. Same old stuff. No, that's like my vending stuff. Like, people don't get it. By the time I'm done doing my time to stock inventory and goods, and it's hard to do like stuff that's good for you in those, because if it sits too long, it'll go bad quick. And then you got to redo everything in the machine and clean it, and you can't be doing that. So you sell a lot of bad stuff, you know what I mean? Honestly, with probably a lot of preservatives and processed stuff and sodas and yada yadas. But on top of it too, by the time you're done packing, filling your machine, doing your stuff, adjusting the inventory, pulling the box, doing your cleaning, doing your services, you're only getting 3 cents to 5 cents per item, because I'm counting like after sales tax and all this extra stuff that they charge me because I do everything on the books. And it seems like the more you follow the rules, the more they screw you on it. But I have to move like a crap ton of stuff to make anything. That's if nobody breaks in or vandalizes something, because they're not smart enough to read. It says 50 cents or $1, and you're like, hey, for $100 to be in there, 100 things have to be sold. Or the stuff that says 50 cents, 200 things got to be sold for $100 to be in there. Slow down. Quit breaking my stuff.
Well, and it's hard for the American public, because we always say you vote with your dollar. But at some point, with the economics crisis that we have from the American consumer's perspective, they're looking at it going like, I would love to shop local, but it's going to cost me $10 more than what it cost me on Amazon. So even though I don't want to shop on Amazon, I'm going to spend the money on Amazon, because that $10 has a huge impact on my family. Yep. And that's the sad part is that we've gotten to the point where the American public can't even choose. And it's the American public's fault for getting to this point, right? We watched for decades that when a Walmart goes into a small town, it absolutely destroys the local economy every single time. And yet we had the American public wanting Walmart in their cities, wanting the Walmart to come in. Why? Because that dollar extra in their pocket made a big difference. Well, what they didn't understand was the job loss and the other economic consequences, the trickle-down effects that existed when they put that Walmart in other communities.
Not to mention all the meth heads and weirdos that bugging you out in front of a Walmart all the time, asking you for stuff, money and things. And then the kind of crappy job situation there. Because they always do it with the thing of like, I don't understand a lot of the stuff with like the city planning type things for any city. This one, whatever, Colorado Springs, Denver, any of it. But they always do, this big place is coming in. It's going to be great. They're bringing jobs. Growth is the only way to show that our city's improving. And you're all, everything kind of gets to a point of only getting so big, you know what I mean? And then it pops, like swells up and then just explodes everywhere and makes a mess. You can't, it's like a blister almost. And I think that's a terrible, terrible way to scale how good your city is. Because I always thought like a good way to, hey, my city's good. Look at the neighborhoods around the schools. Look at where the libraries are. Look how good it is around the parks and all the places. Look how tidy downtown is. Isn't this good? What a good city to have. It's so clean and tidy without trash everywhere. There's no graffiti. There's no trash. The neighborhoods around all the vulnerable places where all the children and stuff are just fantastic. That should be the way you scale and rate a city, not with all this weird, gross growth of like, slap another parking lot, take out all the trees, put a Walmart in, put an Amazon in, no more trees. Screw it. It's so much hotter here now. You're like, yeah, you got rid of all the shade.
Yeah. I mean, the trickle-down effects of all these giant economic decisions, I don't think are fully understood by the American public in many of these cases.
I think a lot of it needs to be brought to the public to help make some of these decisions too, not just like a mayor or a city council aspect of things, if that makes sense. I think a lot of people should, because usually you hear about some and people are like, I don't want that here. There's one right over there. Why do I want another one right there? So a lot of times people don't want that. So, I hate to say me siding with the bike people, but like the bike trail people seem to be real big on like, no, don't touch the bike trail. And I'm like, it's time I get with the bicyclists sometimes.
I mean, they have their point, right? I mean,
it's that keeping the nature part, even though they're running over parts of it. But yeah, I agree. I do kind of get on their side with some of this stuff. But the way they preserve it sometimes, because you see it, there's always some kind of weird tax, like we had here. It was like, oh, preserve the nature. Here's a tax to preserve the nature. And you're like, no, just preserve the nature. Don't ruin it. Don't destroy it. Don't throw garbage over it. Don't do stupid crap.
That goes back to individual responsibility, which you also don't have in this country.
No.
We lack corporate responsibility. We lack independent or individual responsibility. And now we have a wealth of issues.
We're our own problem. We're our own worst enemy. We're very self-destructive as a whole with all of it for what? We sell everything for convenience. We sell our morals for $1 less here and there, $10 less for now, when it's going to cost us thousands later, millions later, billions later, trillions later. For what? Save $1 now, look neat and be trendy, be fashionable, fit in. I miss the era of non-conforming and just being who you are with stuff. I mean, to a point. That's a very dead era. I loved it. I miss it.
Yeah, it's we definitely gotten away from that, especially in the schools. You don't see as many of the cliques that you used to,
Yeah,
right?
no,
And I think it leads to an identity crisis in the American youth as well, to a large degree. I mean, they don't even know who they are, and they can't even start to figure out who they are.
and mind you, there was a lot of that dyeing and bleaching hair and weird haircuts or painting fingernails or cut up jeans or looking punk or not or jocks and cheerleaders and other nonsense and the nerdos and all that kind of crap, and the glee clubs and then all the band geeks and all that stuff back when. So yeah, it does seem like nobody finds their place and everybody just wants to be a carbon copy of each other. I always say you can be a standout or you're just going to be another stand-in. So be a background character or at least try to be the star of your thing. And do your own route and path. Do it the right way. Have good morals, values, and ethics doing it. But try to be a good person. Try to improve. But be an individual, man. Question stuff. It's okay to question. It means you're smart enough to know you don't know everything.
100%. Well, this has been Spiritual Insurgency. Join us every day. God bless.
You want it better, be better.